right. Hello, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. My name is Matt, and I'm the director of Fly Ranch. I live on Ramaytush Ohlone land in San Francisco and work on Numu land in Nevada. I work for Fly Ranch and care about water and ecology. So we have a number of folks who are going to talk. We're going to jump right in here, and I'd love to invite our first speaker from one of the projects from Solar Mountain, who is in a very different time zone. And thank you for being on this long. So Nuru, if you'd like to go ahead and jump in and say hey and introduce yourself, you're welcome to.
Hi everyone. This is Nuru Karim, and it's an absolute honor to be shortlisted for this incredible initiative. So, firstly, congratulations to Burning Man Project and Lagi for this beautiful endeavor, and congratulations to all the other shortlisted entries. When we started working on this project, we started ideating on this concept. We started asking a bunch of questions. We wanted to confront the enormity of the crisis that the world is facing with respect to climate change and global warming. And in many ways, this sort of crisis was far more destructive than even the current pandemic that we're facing. It threatens humans, nature, it threatens the balance of our ecosystems. And for a long time, we actually thought what a response to this crisis should be. Should we think big? Should we think small? Should we be ambitious about this project? But more importantly, I think what we wanted to do is also create art. Art with a social conscience and a moral obligation to protect the planet's resources. Also art that sort of transcends cultural boundaries and geographical boundaries. Given the magnitude of this crisis, we then thought of looking at a scale that could protect the needs of present users and the current generation without compromising the needs of future generation. And solar energy has proven to be one of the best renewable energy options, and if produced on a massive scale, could fast track our transition towards sustainability. It is through this dialogue and ideation that the first sketches of the Solar Mountain were born, and it's a system that reduces its dependency on fuel and gas and causes no threat to the environment. A system that could also reduce the risk of health hazards, such as respiratory issues and cancers and cardiovascular problems. The Solar Mountain also, in a way, sort of advocates water conservation because it doesn't use electricity powered by water. And it doesn't compete with water usage for agriculture, drinking systems, and other vital needs for survival. It thereby protects our river systems as well. We also wanted to actually create a space that was shaded, cool, and could house hundreds of visitors for interaction and recreation. So over the next 5 weeks, we're looking to engage in conversation and build potential collaborations on two critical domains where the delivery of the Solar Mountain is concerned, where prototyping is concerned. The first is solar energy, and the second is timber construction and timber engineering. And just to summarize very quickly, the Solar Mountain explores the synergy between art and technology to create a positive impact on the environment and combat climate change. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and have a great night's sleep. Thanks for staying up for us.
No, I'm going to be awake. Yeah.
All right. Next up, as an introduction and sort of framing to this project, we're going to have Laura Day, who has a long background in sustainability and cannabis and started her own festival. So Laura, if you want to jump on in.
Sure. Thank you, Matt. It sure is a privilege to be here and for the opportunity to work with such inspirational humans such as yourself and to share the screen with these amazing people. I'm Laura Day, Associate Director here at Burning Man Project and Sustainability Lead for Black Rock City. I'm stoked to welcome all of you to this call, so thank you for joining. First, I'd like to share with you some updates around what we've been focused on within our environmental sustainability efforts and some of the progress we've been making here at Burning Man Project, as well as recognize the impactful work of many others who are committed to a more sustainable future on this planet. Burning Man for many is far more than a party in the desert. It's a culture and a way of life. For many, being a burner is part of one's identity. Burning Man changed their lives. For me, it was feeling chest-swelling inspiration from the sheer brilliance and incredible untapped potential of human ingenuity I experienced. The unbound freedom to express oneself and watch others in their diverse and often weird methods of expression, it really changed the way I looked at the world. In order to guide this culture, 10 principles were written by Burning Man's founder, Larry Harvey. Thank you, Larry. What was once a small bonfire on a beach became a worldwide community based around these principles. Among those principles is leave no trace, and I'm going to go ahead and read that one for you. Our community respects the environment. We are committed to leaving no physical trace of our activities wherever we gather. We clean up after ourselves and endeavor, whenever possible, to leave such places in a better state than when we found them. Leaving no trace is arguably Burning Man's most important principle. If we don't uphold that one, no more Black Rock City, literally. We follow very strict environmental criteria in order to continue to have the privilege to build our city in the Black Rock Desert. We do get our permit from the Bureau of Land Management, the BLM, or the feds, after all. But leaving no trace is about much more than the playa. Like many, I started to feel a jab of guilt when reflecting on some of the glaring elements of the burn that are impacting the ecosystem, as well as those who call it home. I often found these aspects of the event hard to swallow, and that there had to be a way to leverage this inspirational, creative force to reimagine how we do this thing we do, and to embrace the chaos and keep the anarchist vibe alive. So in July of 2019, in an effort led by our beloved, very own Matt Sundquist, Burning Man Project published the 2030 Environmental Sustainability Roadmap. In this roadmap, we outlined 3 main goals that we aim to achieve by 2030. First is no matter out of place. So we want to handle waste ecologically and avoid landfills. That will mean a complete shift in our consumption and disposal loops. I'm coordinating that goal with the help of many folks. Special shout out to Stephen Chun, Mr. Blue, and DA, who have been instrumental in this work and represent decades of efforts in this area. Second is to be regenerative. By that, we mean that we want to create a net positive ecological and environmental impact. Said another way, we aim for it to be better for the ecology of Earth, for Burning Man to exist than not to. Breed Love is coordinating this goal. Third is be carbon negative. By that, we mean we want to remove more carbon from the environment than we put into it cumulatively. I mean all the carbon we've ever put into the atmosphere over the last 30 years. We think we emit around 100 to 150,000 tons of carbon per year. We want to do carbon capture and storage in ways that are legitimate, permanent, surplus, measurable, and enforceable. We want those projects to have co-benefits like reforestation that involves carbon storage, habitat creation, and water system health. So these are really ambitious goals, but they can be a benchmark for an achievement shared by an entire global community. Many of the most innovative, creative, and brilliant minds of our time have received inspiration from regional events and in Black Rock City, and have in turn contributed to the magic that has grown to inspire so many, and created their own magic in their own communities. So I'm going to pause here and take a quick moment for a shared visioning exercise. So I'm going to invite you, whether or not you've been to Black Rock City, to close your eyes, take a shared breath, while I lead you through a quick mental exercise of a possible future multiverse of Black Rock City. It'll be cool if your eyes are closed, trust me. Okay, so let's imagine you're arriving at Black Rock City in 2030. You exit Interstate 80 onto Highway 447 and notice that the roadside is clean in the desert landscape. On your journey, you notice ecological restoration projects. You drive past properties in Gerlach where regeneratively designed gatherings are held year-round. The 360 acres in Gerlach hosts energy infrastructure that powers Black Rock City and provides power year-round for locals in northern Nevada. Can you see it? You arrive at Black Rock City, taking a stroll through your neighborhood, and you realize there are no fumes or grumbles from generators. Instead, the city runs on solar arrays, human-powered bike blenders, microgrids, and renewable energy. Drinking water is distributed from reusable drums and containers, eliminating single-use cups and bottles. The organic humus of composting toilets replaces the perfume of the blue boxes we're accustomed to. Gray water is handled ecologically. Black water is managed through a blend of composting, biofiltration, treatment ponds, and land applications. Mutant vehicles, rental vehicles, and heavy equipment are primarily electric. Structures and art are created from repurposed and upcycled materials, and the burning of art is continued mindfully and offset appropriately. Camps work together to contribute, share, and manage resources and other civic and municipal needs. Food waste is composted and used to grow food at Fly Ranch. On your drive home, there's no evidence of dumping or disposal of trash. The disposal loop is closed, waste doesn't go to landfills, and we use a zero waste model. The city is just as vibrant, weird, and wild as always, just supported by a sustainable infrastructure. All right, you can open your eyes if you haven't already, except for you, Breedlove. I've been watching you, your eyes have been open the whole time. Okay, so see, sustainable infrastructure does not need to be boring. It can be intriguing, beautiful, complex, awe-inspiring, and artistically moving. Done well, intentional land stewardship becomes a dance party to the most funky beats and upbeat melody. The beats of the wings of native birds, the melody of clean water, and the dance of a regenerative landscape where we're part of the ecology, contributing more than we take from it, our feet dancing in celebration of solidarity with all the land's relations and the four-leggeds and two-leggeds that have walked on it for many years before us. Many of the projects submitted to LOGI directly test these systems and how we might solve the consumptive practices that are the norm on Playa and the extractive global model at play in our present world. They demonstrate how much of the technology needed to achieve our goals is within reach. Fly Ranch can be a proving ground for closed loop regenerative systems and exemplify how we can move towards an ecologically sustainable city and event while prototyping models for how people everywhere can re-relate to the land in a regenerative way. As a species, we just might be able to address the climate emergency if every government, organization, and person meets these goals. Bringing our collective focus towards solving an existential threat to civilization may just be the greatest use of this massive brain trust and loudspeaker held by Burning Man's community. It's totally possible we'll fail. We think it's still important to try. We hope to steward this land in a way that honors the wisdom of nature and the people who have protected it for generations. You are about to see some examples of the potential to do this in very real and very feasible ways. And I will tell you some ways that you can get involved. We've started to discuss how we can invite theme camps, mutant vehicles, regionals, and individuals into this work. We've worked with the Green Theme Camp community and talked internally about how we could support their initiatives. The simple version of that is to invite regionals and theme camps to meet the same goals we've set for 2030. Ideally, some of those groups could beat us across the finish line and show us how to do it. To really understand possible progressions, please visit the roadmap and specifically see the appendix for a general overview of our sustainability. And I'll link in some of our pages here shortly. So we are open source in our work so others can replicate and collaborate with us. In this way, we can be and craft a template that will pave the way, a way for others to emulate with a space to work collectively. This can be all of our work. We have seen an impressive number of people within the community stepping up and expressing passionate interest on taking this on and doing things like submitting fucking amazing proposals to LOGI to prototype them at Fly Ranch. Can I say that here? We're thrilled and a bit daunted, to be honest, to be embarking on this journey. There are a lot of ways to get involved and join us in this work, which is good because it's going to take a Herculean effort to achieve. So the projects you're about to see here are astonishing. Hopefully they'll inspire many more ideas and many more projects. We've heard from a number of you who are excited to continue conversations, collaborate, and learn with other burners, roll up your sleeves and kick off projects that address these and other challenges. How will you get involved in a meaningful way? Well, we would like to invite you to join something called Burning Man Hive Labs. Hive Labs is a facilitated process on Burning Man Hive for burners to connect, learn, and collaborate around shared goals for evolving Black Rock City and Burning Man culture. So next week, we launch a 5-week journey to learn, organize, and collaborate around Burning Man Project's 2030 Environmental Sustainability Roadmap goals. That's a mouthful. You'll be supported to formulate your own goals, lead informed teams, or join existing efforts. We are hosting weekly community calls and moderated conversations. You're invited to join in and find or create a project that supports this shared vision. So you can email hivelabs@burningman.org. We'll link in a interest form here in the chat. And we also welcome your feedback at sustainability@burningman.org. Okay, I digress. I've said lots of things and I'm about at time. So let's get back to the reason why we're here and let these folks blow your minds a little bit. Handing it back to you, Matt.
Hey, thanks, Laura. Um, all right, up next, we have Autumn Harry. I will chat a link in here. You can find links to her gardening program that she's been running at Pyramid Lake and the invitation for this event. We've made this event free, but the ask that we've made and the invitation is to offer contributions for Autumn's excellent gardening program. She's also been running a number of other projects out at Pyramid Lake over the course of the pandemic, including catching trout, and has been supportive and involved with what we're doing. So Autumn, if you're here, if you want to unmute yourself, I think I see you as a co-host. Oh, there she is. So Autumn, the floor is yours, and thanks for joining us.
Hi everyone. No Autumn Harry Minani no Kuyui Papa Nanadawe, no Kuyui Takata Dene no. Hi everyone. My name is Autumn Harry. I'm a member of the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe, Navajo. And as Matt said, yeah, I began this gardening project. So just a little bit background. I'm currently a master's student at UNR studying geography, and the work that I'm doing is actually working towards revitalization of our Northern Paiute or Numu place names. As you know, or hopefully a majority of you know, that as you travel through Burning Man, that's all my people's territory. It's all Northern Paiute territory, as most of Northern Nevada is. And so it's really important to recognize that when you're planning on coming to Burning Man, or if you spent time here, to recognize the territory and the land that you're on. And our people still have a very deep connection to these lands. And so, yeah, with the pandemic last year, our community was hit really hard, as most Native communities in the United States, were. We had a really tough time with the pandemic and lost a lot of our knowledge keepers, our elders, our language speakers in so many of our communities. And so, being home last year, I think was just really, I know for my family and I, we just spent all of that time together. And as Matt said, I'm a fisherwoman. Here at Pyramid Lake, our people have been surviving on both our long cutthroat trout and our kiwi. For thousands of years. Those fish have been our main source of food and sustenance. And at Pyramid Lake, we call ourselves the Kuyui Takata, which is the kiwi eaters. So we identify by the fish that we eat. And fishing is very much still a part of our identity. And I grew up fishing with both my parents, my mom and my dad. And it's something that I'm really passionate about, especially in regards to food sovereignty and food justice. And so back in March of 2020, because the cases were starting to increase in Northern Nevada, our tribe made the decision to shut the lake down. And I was really proud of our tribe for doing that and for taking such strong, initiative to prevent outside communities from coming in and possibly, infecting some of our tribal members. And so our tribe actually developed road barriers that lead to the lake and shut down all recreational activities. So there was no fishing, no swimming, and all of the outside communities were not able to come in. And so when that happened, that really gave our community, our Northern Paiute community, full access to the lake. And that's something that I don't think we've experienced for a really long time. And I know that within my lifetime, that was the first time that I've ever seen that happen. And so once our tribe shut down the lake, that just cleared up all of the beaches. And so that allowed our community to go out and have full access to the lake without having any interruptions or distractions or trying to fight for a spot to fish. And I really, took that opportunity to catch as much fish as I could and to really refine my skills with fishing as well. And I had just put out this call on Facebook because I know that fishing is still not super accessible. You know, sometimes the fishing gear is expensive, or parents have, you know, are taking care of their children, or maybe don't have the gas money to go to the lake. And so I just said, hey, you know, if any families or elders need fish or need trout, I can clean it, I can gut it, I can catch it for you, and then deliver it to your house. You know, and do a contactless delivery. And so I think I caught just, you know, within that time, I think I caught and delivered about 45 different trout to tribal members. And so early on in the pandemic, I was really passionate about food justice. And, you know, because we are about 45 minutes from Reno and about 20 to 30 minutes from Fernley, at least where I live, you know, when people were starting to get really worried about the pandemic and were going to all of the grocery stores and buying out the food, you know, our communities were having to travel in uh, a ways to get access to this food. And by the time we would get to the grocery stores, there was no food left on the shelves. There was no meat or produce that was in stock. And so we would travel all of these miles in and didn't even have access to food. And so it was a really difficult time. And so that's why I started fishing. And then later on, one of my friends from a local organization in Reno called Reno Food Systems, they actually have several hoop houses and have a really large area of land that they grow on, and they had extra seedlings, and they said, hey, we see what you're doing with your fish, would you like to have some seedlings to also hand out to your community? And so that was kind of like a big jump start. And it's like, okay, well, I can actually, you know, create a Google form, create a program, and sort of outline it to where I could provide food and seedlings and plants to members of my community. And so I actually started growing my own seedlings, and was also in cooperation with Reno Food Systems. And once I put out that Google form, I had again, over 40 people who had signed up, 40 different households who wanted to be a part of this program. And so I really got into action then and just started growing food and actually delivering seedlings and soil, and also grocery gift cards. And later on in the summer, I had this idea to begin building raised beds for people in our community, because our soil is not the best for growing food in in a lot of parts of the reservation. And so the raised beds are a really great opportunity to have that rich soil for growing and planting foods. And so yeah, it's something that I'm really proud of. And because of the pandemic, it was just like a really quick decision to, you know, begin that initiative, and didn't really have much time to plan it out. So since last summer, I've really been thinking about how to continue on with this program. And because it was such a really quick project, I wasn't able to, or didn't have the capacity to really give people instructions on how to work with those tools. Like, I gave them the seeds, the seedlings, the soil, but I didn't have the capacity to really follow up with them to make sure that they knew how to grow that food. And so that's something that I wanted to incorporate this year. And so we actually just finished up a Pyramid Lake backyard gardening workshop just last weekend, and had about 30 people, both from the local Reno Sparks community and our tribal members here. And so the idea was to actually have different demonstrations and workshops to show people how to begin their garden from start to finish. And so we had a demonstration on how to build a raised bed, and actually had hands-on, you know, people were working on their own raised bed boxes. And then the second one was learning about soil and compost mixtures and the right ratio from soil to compost for actually growing your seedlings. And then the third workshop was showing you how to do direct planting into your planter box, and then the aftercare as far as like, you know, irrigation and harvesting. And so yeah, that was really successful, and everyone who participated in that wanted to I think they were just really excited and had so many questions throughout the entire workshop. And so that's something that I feel really good about. And I want to continue on with this program as far as I'm going to be, again, delivering seedlings and plants to people on the reservation, and hopefully can get some more garden boxes built this year. But last year we built 8 raised beds. And so we're wanting to do a lot more, especially for the multi-generational household. So yeah, Matt, I think that's all I have to say right now. I don't know if you wanted to add anything or not.
No, that's great. And, you know, just wanting to highlight for folks that, you know, Autumn's already doing a lot of what we've talked about wanting to do. And we've learned a lot from her. And as she said, we're on Numu land when we go out to Fly Ranch or when we're at Black Rock City. And I think it's important for us to always be thinking about that. So supporting Autumn is a great way to try and support the community. And there's so much more that I personally have to learn, and I think that we can all do. So really just appreciate you being on the call here, Autumn, and your involvement with the project. Next up, gonna jump in with some discussions about the projects and some judges. So first up on the from the same house, I assume, if she's around, Beverly, if you'd like to jump in and chat, if you want to unmute yourself. I believe that you're a co-host.
Yeah.
And hello, yes, great, thank you. So Beverly is Autumn's mom and has been involved with this project, and came out to walk the land at Fly last year, and I quickly realized she knew way more about the land than I did. So she's been involved with looking at some of the projects, and would love to hear any reflections you have, Beverly, or if you just want to offer advice or thoughts for the teams or anything you'd like to say.
You know, my name is Beverly Harry. I'm a member of the Navajo tribe. I come from a community right near Flagstaff, Arizona. It's known as Loop, Arizona. And about 30 years ago, I moved up to the Pyramid Lake Reservation. Actually, I was working on a fauna and flora class of Little Valley, just down the mountain from Slide Mountain. And I was taking a class there and was trying to, I think, take a new direction of my life at that time. And after I finished up that class, I ended up meeting my late husband, Norm Harry. And, you know, through that time, we end up achieving a whole lot as far as environmental justice is concerned, and mining justice, and just looking at how we can make a difference on how we're utilizing resources, how we're advocating for justice on the lands and the water. And so my late husband, Norm, was a water protector. You know, his work stemmed from looking at the injustices on the Pyramid Lake tribe and looking at this systemic racism that occurred within the Truckee River, started from Lake Tahoe, and looking at, you know, the elite being able to, you know, house themselves along the shorelines of Lake Tahoe and try and maintain water quality up in that area with the Tahoe Regional Planning Association. And they kept a vigil on the water clarity of Lake Tahoe in cooperation with UC Davis. And so they had like a magnificent team. And then, you know, through the years, you know, the tribe downstream here at Pyramid Lake had began to see a lot of problems, and especially with the way that they were being impacted by upstream users, how pollution was really a big part of this overall issue on the river. And so more development, more total dissolved solids were entering into the Truckee River, and the impacts are continuing to be really, really huge. And so when we're looking at all of these developments and looking at the way the land is spread out, you know, for the Pyramid Lake tribe, and just looking at the swaths of land that belong to Western Shoshone people, Northern Paiutes, Southern Paiutes, and the Washoe people, Goshu people within Nevada, you start to look at these important extensions of lands that are related to these tribes. And the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe, you know, has a sister lake, has areas where their ancestors used to live, the places where they used to travel, and then going through some of these evidence of lands that were really important to them. And when the caves were excavated, you know, some years ago, you know, there were necklaces that had been exposed, and these necklaces had abalone on them. So these people, their ancestors travel along the way. And so it's really important for us to understand that these lands, the water underneath them, still belong to Native people and the people that prayed for these waters of long time ago, when the prayers were really, really strong and the songs were really strong. Those are the people that prayed for all of the gifts that these lands have. And so what I bring, you know, to this particular message at this time is, you know, we have to advance our advocacy for indigenous communities, the indigenous people who are on the forefront of frontline organizing to continue to see the impacts of, I guess, green energy. You know, we're seeing that as a huge problem now, because, you know, all of these mines from the time gold was discovered in 1864 in Dayton, Nevada, there's always been a progression of mining, and mining is on indigenous lands. And all of these resources, from uranium to, you know, what is being compiled as nuclear energy for waste disposal, and all of that are impacts that our people are continuing to have. And so when we begin looking at, you know, this idea of, you know, green energy, and looking at, you know, how that's greenwashed in a lot of ways, we look at, you know, the magnification of lithium, and how, you know, our people and the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe's sister relatives up in McDermott are being impacted by lithium. And so where the McDermott tribe is centered, I'll quit in a couple minutes. And I just want to make a point about, you know, these solar energies and lithium production. The story is about the McDermott Paiute tribe, which is just north of Winnemucca, Nevada. back in the 1930s, they had a mine that was brought in on their lands. It was called the Caldera Mines. They were mining mercury, HG. And when the mines finally closed in 1999, the groundwater became contaminated. And so people were being impacted with cancer, with mercury, found in their jawbones, in their jaws, and their muscle tissue. And so the McDermott tribe ended up having to start on a bottling water system. So bottled water is served to them. And then right near their lands right now is a place called Thacker Pass. It's just so beautiful. And that is the place where Lithium Nevada is trying to produce a project to extract lithium from those mountains. And they don't have anything to give to these people. They're saying, if you want to have your power bill paid, you want your water bill paid, you need groceries, just go ahead and give us the bill. And so the problem is that lithium is not going to resolve the issue of the advancement for what we need to do with the changes in this world. The impacts are still going to be placed on Native communities as long as mining is directed in that way. And then, Native people don't benefit from green cars, solar energy, and all of that. It's the elite. So I just want to, let us know, all of us know that, we have to be careful in the way that we're planning the future, because it's all on indigenous communities, because everybody has benefited and has gained wealth on behalf of Native communities. So let's do our research. Let's do our research wisely. Let's do our work together, and let's bring justice to the forefront of this organizing.
Thanks, Beverly. Next up, I see that we have Jolie here, and if Jolie is a co-host, Jolie, if you'd like to unmute yourself and jump in, you are welcome to. There she is. So Jolie is the founder of Indigenous Women Hike, which I will put their Instagram here. I am a huge fan, and she also is one of our judges. Jolie, do you want to talk about the projects that you liked, or any reflections, or follow on with what Autumn and Beverly were saying? How about it? Thanks so much for being here.
Manahobu, Matt. Manahu, everybody. Inani Ane, Jolie Varela, Numunu, Payahunadu Yesh, Tuli River, Nukimaru, Ibia, Tony Spoonhunter, Imaa, Anita Spoonhunter. Hello, my name is Jolie Varela. I come from the place of flowing water, Payahunadu, also known as the Owens Valley. And I'm also a tribal citizen of the Tule River Yokuts, which are across the Pamiru Toyobi, or the so-called Sierra Nevada. And as Matt said, I'm the founder of Indigenous Women Hike. My mother is Tony Spoonhunter, and my grandmother is Anita Spoonhunter. And Manahobu for having me here today, and for having me participate as one of the judges. I just want to say, when I heard, when Laura was speaking earlier and asked us to close our eyes, and to kind of like imagine, I couldn't help but imagine what land back would look like. So my mind strayed from what you were saying to what it would look like if the original stewards of that land had the ultimate say in what that land would look like, and how it would further be shaped by those people. And also, while my sister Autumn was speaking just about how beautiful that must have been to have spent that time on your homelands and on that lake with just you and your people and you and your father, and being able to fish and provide for your people without colonialism encroaching on you, as it does with us every day. So that was really beautiful, and thank you for sharing that, Autumn. And as a Paiute woman, as a Numuhuhupi from Payahunadu, Autumn is my Northern Paiute relative, and I've been really blessed through Indigenous Women Hike to be able to think of Autumn and Bev and Norm and Deb and the whole Harry clan as relatives. And I've been able to spend time on those lands at Kuyuipat, and it's been really amazing and healing for myself to be there and to do that. And as always, I'm really grateful for the first stewards of those lands who have cared for and shaped those lands so that we can all enjoy it today. And even though I am an Indigenous woman, I am a guest on those lands. So I must act according to those protocols that they have in place there. And I'm grateful every time that I get to go and visit and that I get to fish in that amazing lake. And when Autumn and her family welcome me and get to teach me how to act accordingly on their homelands. So that's something that's really special for me. So I hold those lands, they have a really special place in my heart, and I want to see them cared for and loved, and I want to see the first people of those lands honored, and I want their voices to be honored and heard when it comes to further stewardship and what's being done on those lands. So I think that it's really great that Indigenous voices, particularly voices that are from there, are being listened to and heard. And hopefully it's just the first step, and there will be more collaboration and more Indigenous voices involved. And just, like I say, as an Indigenous woman with Indigenous Women Hike and everything that I do, it's great what is going on and the care that gets put into these projects, but ultimately land back, and the first stewards need their voices heard and their ideas heard. But with that, I would like to say, being a judge and listening to these projects and getting to look at them was really cool to see all of these really innovative ideas. And for me, what I was looking for was which seems less invasive to the land and to the people. And as an Indigenous woman, that is what I was looking for. And I always had my Numa relatives in my mind and in my heart when I was thinking and looking at these projects. That is something that is the most important to me. So thank you for having me on and having me be a judge and being able to see these projects and see just how everybody's minds are thinking. I think it's really cool. And I really appreciate it. And I just want to say to the Harrys and to Autumn for all of her wonderful work. I got to go to that workshop and learn what I was doing wrong when I was replanting my poor plants. So I learned so much from just that workshop, and I know how important food sovereignty is, especially here in my own community, with our wonderful food sovereignty program that we have here. And I just see the importance of Autumn's work, and not only hers, but her mother's and Deb's and everybody's, and how just important it is to continue to have Indigenous voices, because like Bev said, we're the ones on the front lines, and we are the ones who continually have to deal with ongoing colonialism and the loss of our sacred sites, our lands, and just everything. So it's really important for us to be listened to. So again, I appreciate being here. Mana hobu, Matt, for having me, for inviting me to be a part of this.
Thanks so much, Jolie. Next up, we will have Professor Kyle White. Kyle is a professor and writer and activist and has written a lot of papers. I'll chat a few in here that are really thoughtful about invasive species management and settler colonialism and sci-fi. So Kyle, if you'd like to jump on in, great to see you. Thank you so much.
Bonjour, everybody. Good to have a chance to connect super briefly. I was one of the judges, and my own work is on environmental justice and climate justice relating to indigenous people, and I'm a member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, and really a shout out to all the wisdom shared by the members of the Harry family that are here with us now. And I wanted to just speak quickly about a couple of the types of things and the discussions that came out when we were really spending all this time just dwelling in these different designs. And I know that right now for many folks, including many artists and designers, there's a great emphasis on equity and justice. It's in the news and reckoning with racism and discrimination. But one of the things that I found ironic is then, despite all that attention, oftentimes when you see what folks project into the future, it's very European, very, white, even if the designers themselves, don't even participate in those identities. And it's very challenging to find, indigenous futures and futures pertaining to many other diverse communities that are struggling against racism. And I think it's important to note that in a design process, right, indigenous peoples' role in that is not just a fleeting past reference to a vague conception of relationality or an example of one object or one idea. I think it's important to note, right, that as indigenous people, we have our own history, we have our own ways of governance, we have thousands of years of capacity building and knowledge and governance traditions. And I think one of the challenging things for many designers and many artists is it's not really about, can you find a reference or an abstract connection to indigeneity, but how come the very design process wasn't already one that at the very earliest stages involved the indigenous people of that place to which your design is applied? And why is that? Why is there that gap in kinship? Why is it that we're not already doing these things together? And I think there's a difference between folks that approach this type of work through innocence and through a way to show a basic connection to some abstract indigenous concept, and folks that really take up the challenge of the lack of kinship that there is, and the ways in which colonialism and capitalism and patriarchy and ableism have created those gaps, have created those disconnects, and the struggle with a design process, an artistic process that directly addresses the actual gaps of relationality that there are. And so in this way, it was really important as a conversation to be in dialogue with so many of the other judges on those issues that for some are challenging, but for Native folks, that's just the reality that we're facing. And so, I do definitely see and agree with some of what my colleagues had showed previously that this process does represent a starting point, a grounding point, a place where a dialogue, a momentous dialogue, absolutely occurred. But I appreciate, the previous colleague sharing about land back, and what's that gap between the theory of design, the attempt to include indigeneity and the immediacy of land back, right? Land back is now, land back is, wait a minute, what's your actual situation? Who's already excluded from your deliberative and artistic processes? And so, you know, I see this as a beginning, and as the implementation of these important project gets underway, you know, it's going to be important to ramp up and to move forward in these critical dialogues. Yeah, miigwech, and good to connect again with everybody.
Thanks so much, Kyle. Great to see you. I just chatted a link to Kyle into the Zoom, and you can see his papers there. Would definitely recommend checking out his research. Will and Crimson, if you are here, you are next up on the agenda. If you all would like to unmute and jump in. Will and Crimson are out. Well, I'll let you all introduce yourselves. Great to have you. Good to see you. Have at it. Thank you.
Hello, thank you, Matt, and thank you everybody for being on the call. We're 2 of the 6 founders of Burning Man, and certainly the land is incredibly important to us, and to see the voices being heard, the women and men who have spoken today, we honor you for what you're doing and for your passion and your heart. And to all the people, the 250, I believe, proposals that came in was so overwhelming. And it's so exciting to see what's going to happen and for it to be the possibility. And, you know, it's funny, somebody used the word fail. I never use the word fail. You know, this is all about a challenge, and let's see how far something will go, truly.
Yeah, everything that Crimson just said is in my heart too. This whole dream started for me in 1997 when we held the Burning Man event on the Fly Ranch. We had 12,000 people, and I got to live on the Fly Ranch that whole summer and fall. And it became a dream, and it was a dream for several of us. We held on to that dream, and now the dream's coming true. So this is a real exciting time for me. Crimson and I live in Gerlach. We embrace the desert. We have a 2-acre little ranch here, and we do aquaponics, and we try to live sustainably. I've planted 70 trees. We are close to the land that we love, the Black Rock Desert and the Fly Ranch. We recently built a labyrinth out at Fly Ranch, which we walk every Sunday. And as I grow older, I become more radical in my view of the future of humans on the planet. I've become a radical environmentalist. And if you'd like to read my manifesto for a burning age, it's on my website, willroger.com. And then you'll understand where I'm coming from. I'd also like to give a big compliment to everybody who's worked on this LAGGY initiative. It was a remarkable journey to review the several hundred proposals and then be part of the jury, and now the 10 finalists in it. The 10 final projects are all magical, and I look forward to seeing them come to fruition on the Fly Ranch, where we can teach humanity maybe a new sustainable way to live on the land.
All right, thank you so much. I just chatted a link to the labyrinth that Crimson put together, a lovely website that you can check out. So much appreciation to Will and Crimson for all their involvement. Next up, we're gonna jump into the projects, and to introduce that section, Elizabeth and Robert, if y'all wanna unmute yourself and go ahead and say hey and share some thoughts.
Hi.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt, and everyone. Such great and meaningful voices today and hearts with us. What can we say? We're so deeply appreciative of the journey that we've been on with Burning Man Project and Fly Ranch Project over the last couple of years to realize LAGGY 2020 Fly Ranch. It's a dream for us to be working with this incredible group of international thinkers and doers, and thank you.
The outcomes far exceeded any expectations we could have had. the incredible breadth of creativity and innovation is just amazing. We encourage everybody to see the entire online gallery of entries, landartgenerator.org. You can find it easily there. So thank you to everyone on the call. Thank you especially to those who spoke about the land. Yeah, with that, we'll hand it back over to you, Matt, and the teams. Thank you, everyone.
All right, I see one of our other judges just joined in and messaged me. Victor, if you would like to sorry, can we make World Enabled a co-host, Devin? Would that be possible? Dr. Victor Pineda. Let me see if maybe I could do it.
It's like, it's such an honor. Like, you guys have built a new paradigm. And as an urban planner, as a human rights expert, as somebody that's been championed access and inclusion, it's so meaningful to me to see that we're bridging environmental sustainability with human sustainability, with human participation, and thinking about how design shapes our capacity to be in the world. I was born into a world that wasn't designed for me. You know, I live in a world that everything is 10 times heavier for me than it is for everybody else. And thanks to this wheelchair, you know, I'm not confined to the wheelchair. I'm liberated by the wheelchair, and I'm liberated by concepts such as radical inclusion. In fact, I'm writing a book called Radical Inclusion in Cities of Tomorrow. So just want to thank you, Crimson, and thank you, Will, for giving us these frameworks. Because I can pick that up, and as a burner, you know, I've traveled to over 80 countries around the world, but never felt more included than I felt at Black Rock Desert. And even though the one of the most harshest environments, you know, challenged me, it was the way that the society was organized that made me feel like I belonged. Now, when we think about Fly Ranch, we need to consider the fact that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like, a lot of these examples of inclusive, accessible, equitable designs already exist. We can be both accessible and environmentally friendly. We can have a space that does not include barriers, but does include creativity. So, you know, these false dichotomies that building an accessible space somehow can't be a magical, inclusive, and creative and beautiful space is just a lack of imagination. So I want to just ensure that the lived experience and the breadth of the human condition isn't limited to a certain body type or a certain time in our lives. Our bodies change and evolve over time. As we age, we encounter different preferences in terms of the distance we want to walk, the exertion we want to make, climbing upstairs, the ways that we want to interact with technology and have choices. So let's not think of disability rights and disability access as some kind of a requirement that is a difficulty or a cost, but as something that is elevating our common aspiration for making radical inclusion real in the built environment. Thank you very much.
Thanks, great to see you.
I'll leave my email if anybody wants some help or wants a deep dive on how we can build radically inclusive cities here for the community and of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's jump in with our projects. Moon and Z, if y'all want to unmute, go turn by turn, whatever you'd like to do. You're welcome to jump on in. There you go. Hello. Yeah. Great to see you.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you, Matt. Hi, this is Moon, and okay, Z's next to me now. Hi, we are from the team Lodgers, and it's just such an honor to be here and see, I'm really surprised to see 340 people today on a Monday. So thank you so much for making time to meet the teams. So, Z and I'll start with the introduction. We both architectural and urban designers. We met in graduate school at MIT, and I graduated, Z still in school. So anyway, we two just came together. We started a research project sort of looking into multi-species cohabitation, reclaimed wood material. And we've always wanted to be part of the Burning Man community. For me, it's been like 4 years. It's like, and so this project just came perfectly in time. And also, to be honest, working on this project during the quarantine, sitting in my office, in my bedroom, really made me feel like I'm still connected to the world and connected to a community that's beyond this little cubicle. So I want to give a shout out to the flight team and Matt, Liz, and Bubber for making this amazing platform where we can imagine and design and build together. I'll hand it to Z. Sorry.
All right. So wow, this is so exciting. And we just feel so fortunate to be part of this amazing community. My name is Z, short for Z Chen. As Moon has mentioned, I am currently a graduate research fellow at MIT. And I also have a background in ecological science and landscape architecture. So basically, this project is a result from our, past research on multi-species entanglement, because we were trying to understand, architecture's role, beyond, creating shelters for just humans, and also trying to engage a broader audience. As Moon has mentioned, the competition from Fly Ranch just came out during the perfect moment during our research, and we were like, wonderful, now we have a site to experiment on some of our ideas and thoughts. So right now, because both Moon and I are teaching in Boston at various capacities, now we are trying to organize a workshop at our community in Boston among a few universities. And we hope to bring more people to Fly Ranch while generating more ideas on multi-species entanglement on this beautiful piece of landscape.
I'll add a little bit to that. Other than multi-species entanglement, we also just asking the broader question. Looking at a sustainable future, how can we connect the future with the present, with the past? So, we also looked, hoping to, bring in the tribal techniques. And, if you look at our boards, we looked at thatching, look at timber wood framing to, include the past into this future that we're looking at, we're imagining, to have something that's more than quantifiable output, but also something more humane and community-based. So I think that's another core value that we're holding to lodgers. We hoping that the lodgers, including humans, including architecture, and animals, species, plants, we are all just temporary visitors to this land, where the land is the center, where it always be there and be so open for all of us. So with that, thank you all for listening, And please reach out if you have the link to our board. Please leave comments, or if you want to collaborate, your educator, designer, structural engineer, please reach out, leave a comment on the board, and then we get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Antonia. Antonia, if you would like to unmute yourself and jump on in and share a little about your project. There she is. Oh, thank you.
Matt, quick question. Can you please pin Nicolo as well? Because he's joining the call as well.
Yes. Do you know what he's...
Nicolo.
Okay.
Ah, perfect.
There he is.
So I will not waste much of our time because it's limited. Hi, I'm Antonia. This is Nicolo. We're only a small part of a larger team who submitted our proposal called Nexus. We're a team of architects and one structural engineer. And as designers, we're interested in three main things. One of them is innovative construction technology that can help us tackle the environmental impact of our buildings. The other thing is how we can draw communities together. And the third thing is data-driven design and how to build structures that are customly designed to both the people using them and the people impacted by them, but also the natural environment that they exist in. So for that reason, Nexus investigates the possibility of assembling carbon neutral shelter and event structures for the purposes of sustainable education and social gathering. And our aim is to utilize the resources available on site for construction purposes. And those resources are basically sand, gravel, local vegetation, water, and we want to mix that with recycled materials and byproducts from a range of industries. And this is like a brief introduction to the project, and Nico will share a bit more information on our construction methodology.
Yep. So it's a massive honor to be chosen for to define this. I've been through all the submissions and there's some really great work, so it's going to be amazing seeing these things being built. So yeah, one of our main, both myself and Antonia, we work in the construction industry, and concrete, the amount of concrete being used in huge quantities, it's significant and has a significant carbon footprint. So it's essential that, you know, at this stage, people start exploring alternatives. And this competition and this proposal basically allows us to, it's the perfect opportunity to test such materials and set a precedent for the wider construction industry. So we've been exploring promising cement alternatives such as ferroc, a material produced by iron shell, which substitute Portland cement with iron. And we're testing these materials to show what potential they have and how they can be used. So in general, if anyone has any advice on, you know, locally sourced materials in the area, the stands in the area, the geology of the area, would be happy to speak. So please get in touch.
Thank you. Next up, we have Colin from Seed. If you'd like to unmute yourself and jump on in here, Colin.
If you can see us or hear us.
Oh, there he is.
And yeah, so I'm Colin. I'm a founder of a company called Kibo that combines van life and co-living, thinking about freedom and community, and organized the team Seed. And joining me is one of our teammates, Lola.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lola. I'm currently undergrad at Columbia, but taking time off this year and maybe more to work with Colin at Kibo and on Seed and think about new communities.
So we've got some team members on the call. Give shout outs to Sam and Max and John and Henry. I wanted to thank the Laggy team and the Fly team for putting such an amazing, ambitious competition together. So when we saw the proposal, we thought, you know, there's so many interesting ways that we could take this. What is the sustainability part? What is the art part? And we thought, you know, the different pieces that we could look at. And Sam's going to drop some links in the chat. So if you want to take a look at a video or the project proposal, you can do that as well. So we thought about, there's, you know, 5 different things here: food, water, waste, power, shelter. But as soon as we come on site and start doing one, we're going to be doing the other. So we decided to take an integrated approach and think about all 5 components together and how they interact. We did take inspiration from and tried to honor the Native people who've been living on the land for millennia, and as well as thinking about the Gerlach community, the Burning Man culture and community and traditions, and how can all these things come together in a new way. We looked at traditional desert building techniques using earthen structures, pit-based agriculture, ways that you can get out of the wind and regulate temperature year-round in such an incredibly harsh environment. And so, you know, our goal wasn't really to build the biggest geothermal or solar plant that we could. It was first to try and reduce, eliminate, simplify, and down to the essence of what a community can be and where we can cut, and then figure out how we can use regenerative systems for waste, things like biodigestion, for agriculture, permaculture, food forests, and really think about how all these systems integrate in a very lightweight way. And I think now with remote work, kind of first and foremost in a lot of people's minds, we can think about this as really a potentially productive and interesting cultural place. And so this isn't trying to build the you know, an amazing piece of architecture. Is really about building a community. And so I want Lola to talk a little bit about what that means.
So within our earth-centric regenerative city of earthships and hot springs, we're really thinking about it as a knowledge-based and centered budding metropolis where people might come for research and innovation and art making, and seeing it as a real experimentation grounds to begin to prototype, like many people have said so far, a new vision for how we might live sustainably with one another and with the earth and the planet, and really trying to think about a radically participatory community as we build the future of sustainable life on Earth.
A couple of quick plugs. Best way to get in touch with us, we're looking for all kinds of experts and resources, is to check us out on Instagram. Sam will drop a link in there. You can message us. And then as well as we have a GoFundMe page, and we're trying to make this a reality. So we were up on Fly the other day, just taking a look around, and really excited to start collaborating with the other teams. So thank you again to Fly and to Laggy and everybody involved.
Thank you all.
Thanks, y'all. Next up, we have The Source. Matthias, if you'd like to unmute yourself and jump on in.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Hi. Greetings. I'm Mateusz, here is Agata, and together we create a design studio called Tamaga.
Do you want to speak up a little bit? It's a little hard to hear you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, maybe. Is it better? Okay. Well, yeah, together we create a Tamaga studio, interdisciplinary collective, let's say. We are interested in design that's basically combine different topics, from landscape to sustainability, to architecture, to design. And so for us, this competition, this challenge, and this topic was very interesting from the beginning. Additionally, we have an experience in competitions with Laggy. We already participated in Laggy competition in Copenhagen back in 2014. And so in a way, it's one of our topics to deal with this kind of challenges. And for us, from the beginning, the Fly Ranch and the whole site and whole competition was super interesting in terms of this clash of topics. So as we were saying, that we try to grasp the sustainable solutions for energy, water, food, basically shelter. So basically everything that's related to the sustainable vision of the future itself. So, but by the end of the day, we also were focusing to do something that will be feasible, that will just that will plant a seed and grow into something bigger. So we thought about the whole fly ranch site as a kind of a site that we would treat like acupuncture. So our proposal is just one pin on the site that relates to the one topic mainly, but also to the other topics in a way. And that this acupuncture will grow into the full infrastructure, like naturally, grow from the inner to outwards to basically grasp and maybe connect with the other proposals in a way. So yeah, so our proposal in general, just short about the project, is a desert orchard that basically connects different stories. The most important one actually is the narrative side of the spiral itself that relate to the context, ancient context, and the metaphor of the journey, nature, and etc. And basically, inwards, we have a hidden orchard that work as a kind of a hortus conclusus, so create a mystery when we approach to it. And general idea was taken from the fruit wall strategy for the 16th century. So actually, it's as someone said before, we didn't try to reinvent the wheel. We just take something that was existing even pre-greenhouse solution to grow food that was super sustainable, a really low impact, and we use it in a modern way and mix it with a modern technology like water collecting and energy collection and so on. So inside we create this microclimate using low-tech Ramet earth wall that surrounds the orchard. Ramet earth wall is also colored that relate to the colors of the earth and colors of the fly jazer itself. And yeah, and this is the design. So.
Yeah, so currently we are working on detailing the prototype, making it like build ready in technical aspects. So we are getting in touch with some professionals who have experience in Ramet earth technology. That is our main focus right now. So we can't wait for the other collaboration. So if you are interested in the projects and want to collab, just give us to know.
Just let us know. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Really excited to have you all out. So their ask is for if folks know about rammed earth technology, they'd love collaboration. Next up, we have Dusty with Coyote Mountain. Dusty, if you're here, if you want to jump on in. I'd like to say something about Dusty also, which is that Dusty is in many ways responsible for this entire design challenge, where she invited Elizabeth and Robert to have a phone conversation with Zach, who is the operations manager at Fly, and along with Skirpis and Joe and a lot of other folks who've helped put this together. So Dusty invited them to come out to one of our weekends, and here she is now in the top 10. So super grateful for Dusty's involvement on a lot of levels. So Dusty, have at it.
Thank you. First, I would like to do a shout out to my teammates, my two teammates, Anna Melian and Jane Maru, because they're the ones that took my weird looking diagrams and actually made them look like something. So Coyote Mountain, I think, so we asked ourselves 3 questions, I think. First, what if the purchase of Fly Ranch really fulfilled its promise? And second, what if Burning Man thinkers could actually convene year-round? And third, in the sustainability thing, what if Burning Man culture could sustain itself and thrive off-grid, even if the lights go out everywhere else? So I think our angle on sustainability is very big and long-term. To that end, we designed essentially a 250,000 square foot climate controlled small town under solar glass skin. From the ground, it looks like a sculpture. It looks like a mountain. But from orbit, it looks like a coyote jumping on its next meal. Coyotes leap up in the air when they're hunting. So from the ground, it blends into the Calico Range. It's an unobtrusive mountain. It houses everything and everyone inclusively, and then eventually it just withers back into the environment when we're no longer using it in 1,000 years. So it's inside, it's designed to provide laboratories and artist studios, greenhouses for growing all the food, conference center, galleries, libraries, basic living quarters, a cafe, you got to eat, and room for hundreds and hundreds of people to think and talk and experiment and plan. And we have had a lot of experience being in Black Rock and even Fly Ranch, and it's harsh out there. It's too hot, it's too cold, it's too windy. And so we really wanted to build something that is enclosed and climate controlled. It's going to be a big facility. It will depend on geothermal. It's the only technology that can really put out enough power to run something like that. But we've got that, got a couple ideas for that. Materials are fairly conventional, minimizing concrete as much as possible, but using rammed earth and recycled Trex, which comes right from down the street in Fallon, and a lot of other things to try and keep it light. We're in the schematic phase of design right now, basically the design phase where design development comes next, and costing. So we are looking for funds to build the prototype. I probably need to raise an extra $50,000 or so. Also looking for people who might want to contribute, architectural designers, architect of record, landscape architect, civil engineers, structural engineers, MEP engineers, lighting designers, technology specialists, and yeah, so check out our thing. We got a little movie. It's kind of hard to describe. You sort of have to look at the pictures. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Dusty. Yes, it is not unambitious. Next up, we have Mountains of Water. Javier, if you'd like to unmute yourself and jump in.
Yeah, hello. It's Javier from Kibapa Mountains of Water. The rest of the team, I think they are on the chat. We are Deyo, Javier, Mara, Yosin, and Silvia, a group of architects with background in landscape, engineers, and environmental scientists. For us, well, first of all, thanks to the Lagi and the Fly Ranch for this opportunity. It was really an opportunity to learn about the land. The whole process of the project was a process of learning for us. We saw that the place had so many layers, so much depth, and little by little we center our attention in water as an element that, first of all, and the motto obvious, it is an essential element for arid and semi-arid lands. But yeah, cool. Well, and as well because water was so important as well for the traditional communities, well, for the environment in that place. And we started our objective. Well, our objective was to understand, well, the Indian principles really understood how water is in a situation of transition between one place to another. In this case, between the granite range to the playa, and the Fly Ranch as a property. It is in that space of transition, and as we are as well, how can we see that place as an area of opportunity between water, the soil, and the vegetation? So we propose a series of interventions, minimal interventions, with stones, earth, pieces of wood. And above all, we wanted to create like a social episode, as we learn from the Paiute tradition, in which each year, with the snow melt, we will be creating we will be joining together to do these kind of interventions and gather some water to get inspired with the relation between water, vegetation, and the people. And apart from that, we are open to, of course, we would like to continue learning. We will need a lot more, as it is a really on-site specific intervention in which we need to learn a lot about the soil, the traditions, and and water management in this area. We invite everybody to be joining. You can read the proposal, and we'll be happy joining you there. That's all.
All right, thanks so much. Next up, we have our late night crew, the Loop. If y'all would like to jump on in from your party spot over there.
Yeah, here we are.
Absolutely.
This is Per, Julia, Anna, Olle, and myself, Matthias. We are the Loop team. And here to give you a short story about the Loop. From a distance, you see a pink-colored wall meandering down to a natural pond. Fruit trees surrounded the organically shaped walls, made of clay, sand, and straw. People harvesting in greenhouse roof gardens, making food in the communal kitchen, and enjoying showers in the bathhouse. This is a temple dedicated to the loop of life, liquids and nutritions, with the humans at the center. The loop transforms pea into herbs in a hydroponic garden, while flower and fruit trees grow in the outdoor garden with the help of nutrition from dehydrated poop, transforming the former shameless waste into something beautiful. With its surrounding gardens, communal kitchen and bathhouse, it's a system that takes care of pee and poo and grey water. The loop puts people back into the ecosystem and becomes a temple for our bodies. It's about food culture. It's about being naked in water. And it's about taking shit on toilets designed as holy spaces.
The loop is made with low-tech and low-cost materials such as straw and clay, as well as open source solutions for poop dehydration and grey water cleansing and hydroponic gardens. Our visions are not only to build a loop at Fly Ranch, but to support others that like to draw on our experience and knowledge and build similar waste transforming communal houses all over the world. Maybe even in areas that need to be rebuilt because of climate catastrophes. The loop at Fly Ranch will be a beacon on a global network. We really look forward to extending our team and stretching out a hand to people with experience in the local flora and fauna and botany, in hydroponics, greenhouses and farming in the region, as well as rammed earth constructions and of course plumbing. And we are really thrilled to get started and collaborating with you guys in the other teams and start building our prototypes.
Yeah, and we have a very interesting news here as well. We're almost to buy a property for the Borderland Festival here in Sweden and Scandinavia. And it's funded yesterday, and tomorrow I hope it will be bought. So this is the second beacon on this global network.
Congratulations and love the project. Thank you so much. definitely took the infrastructure piece very seriously and really appreciate that. Next up, we have Vale. If you want to go ahead, there he is. All right, great to see you. Have at it.
Matt. Hello, everyone. How's it all going? I'm Jamison Pai, the designer behind Vale. I am honored to be considered one of the winners for this competition, and I'm looking forward to my future collaboration with the Burning Man project during the upcoming prototyping phase. Vale ultimately is a pneumatic armature containing a void by allowing a cement-based fabric to harden against the vinyl membrane of the inflatable structure. This low-tech solution to a high-tech problem was derived from my early research into Native American building techniques, where an armature comprised of flexible branches is then clad in the native mud and clay from the surrounding site. Because of the limited wood within the ranch itself, I opted for a hybridized approach in which the wooden armature becomes replaced by a pneumatic formwork. From the sustainability perspective, the building is an armature itself, aiding in the collection and filtration of rainwater through a gravity-fed system. The collected water is then utilized to nourish the plants within the protected greenhouse system. Vale operates under the premise that a small change can create a large impact. This project looks to the past to solve the problems of the present rather than trying to introduce some foreign structure to the site. This project tries to create a union between the people, the land, and the shelter. With Vale acting as the glue holding it all together, it is an intervening force that creates an occupiable void within a monolithic earth. Thank you again for this opportunity. I am extremely excited to be on this journey with you all, and I can't wait to see how this project and its research will continue to develop within Fly Ranch. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And finally, we have the Ripple crew coming to us live from outdoors in DC. Matt and Jacob, take it away.
Hi, guys. Hey, guys. My name's Matt Lagamarcino, and I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, USA. And I'm Jacob Masson from Maryland's Eastern Shore. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you all today. And if you'd like to follow along with this conversation with our imagery, you can go to our website, flyripple.org. Yeah, Jacob and I, real quick, we met back at University of Maryland a few years ago studying eco-tech design. And yeah, we put our minds together and came up with an awesome team of people that really put their heart into it. So basically the Ripple team is very diverse. It spans 4 time zones, comprises countless ethnicities, and is transdisciplinary, including disciplines such as horticulture, engineering, systems ecology. So we're just the spokesman, but this is a much larger project. So really quick, a little bit about the vision of Ripple. So Ripple is a multi-use restoration base and community hub in the desert with a central mission to ripple outward the native plants along with the regional wisdom needed to plant, grow, and use them effectively. So in order to do this, in the center of the design, a bioceramic dome will act as the water droplet in the center of the ripple and contain a seed bank and library, which act to preserve and regenerate the native wisdom of the region and the native plant diversity in the seeds. And we hope in this we can give a voice to the native people. And since submission, the idea has been evolving to even have more than just a physical installation, but also have a digital archive to capture these people's voices and other regional ecological warriors, if I may, of the area. Outside of the dome, the site is engulfed by waves of native permaculture gardens, restoration plants, and energy, water, and waste systems. If all goes well at Fly Ranch, Ripple could turn into something much larger as a tool to preserve and regenerate ecosystems across the planet through the power of regional wisdom and education. So yeah, go ahead, Jacob. Oh, sure. So that being said, there are a few things that we could use to help us out in all this. For those of you that don't know on the call, this is the first time that we are seeing most of the other finalists in person. You all seem like lovely people, and I'm sure that there are many ways, even outside of this competition, that we can all help each other. And so we'd all love to get to know you,
let's all get a virtual beer sometime and hang out and get familiar. Same goes for the folks that are living at Fly Ranch right now. I'm sure there's a lot that you could tell us that would help this move along better. And especially folks like Autumn and her mother from the local native tribes. Our objective in this has been to create tools that are helpful to the people doing work at Fly Ranch and to the native folks of the area. So we just hope to be as useful as possible. That being said, we're also fundraising. You can check out our GoFundMe link from our website, flyripple.org. And specifically in the short term, if anyone knows links to in-ground water cisterns for rainwater collection, ways to get those donated, or someone who has expertise in those, that's one of our first like kind of big things to go at. And finally, you know, if you are familiar with permaculture, native permaculture, restoration work in the Great Basin region, we'd love to talk to you. So again, check out our website and our GoFundMe at flyripple.org. And it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our program time. I just want to give everyone a little insight into how all of this came together. We've been working on this for about 3 years now, and it's been quite a journey, and I'm so excited about what's happened. And we got 185 proposals from this that were reviewed by 200 technical advisors who left 2,000 comments. Big shout out to Steve LeCam, Nick Farr, and Jason Walters, who each left an incredible number of comments. And then to all of our technical advisors, thank you. And so then from that, we had a shortlisting committee of 50 folks who picked the 52 shortlisted projects that you can find on the website for the Laggy site. And then from there, the 33 jurors who voted for the next project. So all in all, we had, my guess is somewhere around 10,000 hours of time put into this, with 500 people part of the 185 teams that applied, and then 300 reviewers. So this really swelled into something quite large and exciting. And like many things that we've been doing for Fly, this is all an emergent strategy. And so if you're on this call, if you want to be part of what we're doing, if you want to participate, we welcome you being part of it and getting involved. It's all unfolding, and we look forward to having folks out to come to Fly as we see the next pieces that come into place and how many of these we can build, and what the future of the property is going to look like. So the more folks that are involved, I think the better it will be. And this is going to be an exciting and fascinating year. So much appreciation to everyone. And if you want to go out to Fly and take a nature walk, we have walks up for the rest of the year through Friends of the Black Rock. Going forward, if you want to learn about what we're doing at Fly, you can go to flyranch.org and find links to all of these different projects here, to our email list, to our Facebook group, and other ways to follow along with this. And we'll have more opportunities to get involved going forward. But for now, I think that's everything. So thank you so much to everyone who's participated in this. This has been such a joy and an adventure, and everyone who's been on the review side, I know, has felt very blessed and very happy through the past year to have a sign of hope. You know, I think we're going to need years of recovery from this past year, and hopefully we'll be able to come back in a healing way. And I can think of no better way to do it than by trying to honor and revere the land. And so thank you to all of you for your gestures and your visions in that, and for teaching us what you have and being part of this process. You're all stakeholders in this now, and we can't wait to work with you more and to get to meet you all in real life and not just on boxes. So thanks everyone.